Hello, hello. This is Philip Carr-Gomm. Another Tea with the Druid, Tea with the Druid 54 on this December evening in 2018. And I want to say hello to my grandsons. My son told me that my grandsons all the way on the other side of the world watch this. I don't know if it's true or not. He's probably teasing me. But if they are, hi, Tim and James and Leo. Lovely to have you there. And this over here is a little druid who's participating particularly for Leo. So yes, lovely to see you. And I can see you're joining in, Richard, Heather, Renee, Kimberly, Ellie, and so on. Fantastic, lovely to see you. Fantastic. So here we are moving towards the new year. So I've entitled this, the theme for us tonight, to plan or not to plan. That is the question. Funnily enough, the new year unites the northern and the southern hemisphere. If you think about it, up in the northern hemisphere, we are moving towards the winter solstice with the longest nights. And whilst we may be going through certain psychological and spiritual reactions to that, as the nights get longer and we feel the year completing itself, in the southern hemisphere, the experience is quite different because, of course, it's moving towards the longest day, completely the opposite. But we all have the same calendar. And so even if you're in the southern hemisphere, there's this sense of you're getting to the end of a year and a new year is about to begin. And it's a very common feeling to make New Year's resolutions, of course, and to plan what you're going to do with the year to come. And in fact, for the last 25 years, Stephanie and I have used a particular method that we've gradually developed over the years, where we spend time looking back on the previous year, really savoring memories, reminding ourselves of things that we'd forgotten that happened during the year, learning lessons from what had happened, surveying the year, really digesting it, taking time to do that. And then turning our attention towards the year ahead and asking ourselves questions around what do we want to achieve at all the different levels, socially, practically, and so on. And in fact, I wrote a post about this a couple of years ago, and I'll give a link to it in the blog post connected with this, which goes into it in some detail and suggests that you can really make this a special and magical time and process. And it truly is magical. There's something about bringing your consciousness to bear on your life and then making plans and setting intentions, which are, after all, key aspects of magic, setting intentions. Make it very effective. But what I want to share with you this evening is something that we decided, and for the first time in 25 years, at the beginning of this year, was to make no plans, was to do completely the opposite. I asked myself the question, okay, we've been doing this for 25 years. What would happen if we didn't plan, if we just stopped planning altogether and saw what happened, just trusted? And so this year we did this. And I have to say, it's been a fantastic year, helped by the glorious weather that we've had in England. But also, this year it's seen Tea with a Druid, for instance, which wasn't planned. This whole experience evolved out of a casual remark that Dave the Bard suggestion that he made in January last year, this year actually, and that happened. And the Lessons in Magic course that I hadn't planned or thought of at the beginning of the year, somewhere towards, I can't remember when, the spring, I think it was, I thought, why did I put that book of mine into the form of online course and expand on the ideas and work with a group of people to develop it and so on. And that's been a huge success, and that's going really well. And there's a lovely, lovely bunch of people working with the material now. So that was completely unplanned. And then in October, I was contacted by a publisher and asked to write a book on sophrology. And that was unplanned too. So now I'm working on that. And you can say this is unusual perhaps, but I don't know. I think it's like virtually every recommended idea in spirituality and psychology, you often have to entertain the possibility that the complete opposite may be better for you at any given time. So a really good rest might be what you need, or some really intense exercise might be what you need. You know, when you're going through a period of difficulty, sometimes doing exercise can really pull you out of it, help you shift gear, but sometimes you just really need to rest and not exercise at all. So it's a question of really tuning in. So this is really an invitation to explore, look at these two possibilities and say, you know, what if I plan, what if I don't plan? And I'd be interested to hear your comments, whether you've tried similar kinds of experiments. It reminds me of the advice given in writing books and workshops. When you start to write, particularly fiction, applies to non-fiction as well, but you, at the extremes, you're either a planner or a pantser, what's called a pantser. A pantser is somebody who flies by the seat of their pants. So an example of a pantser is, I think, Paulo Coelho, you know, who wrote The Alchemist and so on. And his suggestion for writing fiction is you just get the opening idea, you follow the track and just start writing the story, and the story will unfold like that. So an extreme pantser won't have any idea where the story is going. An extreme planner will plot out every part of the story, will work out the entire plot, and will write it in such detail that it's almost the book, you know, in such detail. And then they simply have to fill it out chapter by chapter, and then they've got their book. Well, and of course, there are all sorts of opportunities or possibilities in between that. Well, having experienced a bit of this when I wrote my novel, The Prophecies, I can tell you that pantsing is a very risky business. You can easily crash. You take off into the sunrise with your aircraft on a wonderful idea or a moving image or a line that comes to you, what's called la ligne donnée in French, a given line of inspiration. You take off into the blue, and the trouble is you can also go off on tangents and get lost or even crash. The next time I write a novel, if I do write a novel, I'm going to be a planner, I can tell you. So the invitation is to ask yourself whether you want to pants next year, whether you want to fly by the seat of your pants, trust in the lady and the Lord, and just see how your life unfolds, or whether you want to go through a process of actually planning it. Do let me know. I'd be really, really fascinated to see what you come up with and how it pans out for you as well. Oppinicus says nothing like a zero agenda. Absolutely. Agendas are how you get things done. And it's interesting, even if you think about kind of relationships and conversations, you know, where you can go into a conversation with an agenda. And if you have the agenda, it's usually better to state it, to say, hey, I wanted to see you today because I want to talk about this. Then it's clear, and then you both know where the conversation is going, and you have the chance of resolving something or coming to a conclusion. But of course, we all know as well that a conversation which has no agenda, where you simply are in a meeting, if you like, where the existential reality of just the two of you being there with no idea what you're going to say or what's going to come up, that can also be very fruitful. So, so voila, that's the idea. And what I want to do now is explore this with a meditation, but completely obliquely. Just forget what I've just said in relation to the meditation, because we don't need to think about it in those terms. I'm going to invite you to a meditation, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Let's just experience it. So Melissa from Brazil is saying, I like the idea of not planning. Most of the times my plans don't work, but other nice things happen, and it's always great. That's lovely. That's lovely. And the thing about plans, of course, is that sometimes it's not about having them work. It's about thinking them. And sometimes you set a plan and then you're actually glad that it didn't work out because something better comes, which is why it's always nice to add into any prayers the little qualifying phrase, this or something better. So you say, dear gods, please may I have, you know, I'm trying to think of something exciting. Please may I have a wonderful holiday or something better. So that allows the universe to actually provide something even more wonderful. Rebecca says, I've spent my life trying to plan, keep going around in circles. Only recently have I stopped and I'm practicing acceptance. Things seem to be much easier and I feel more motive to do the things I was planning to do, but procrastinated about for ages. Because, well, that's great, because that also hits on another point, which is actually they're not mutually exclusive. Because, for example, if I take the thing of the Lessons in Magic course, which funny enough is about planning. I didn't plan to do it this year. I created the space, and in that space, at one point, I came up with the plan to do it. So by not planning, I created a pause or an openness in which a new plan could arise. So there's an interesting relationship here. So plenty to think about. So, okay, so let's do a meditation. Let's just allow all the events of the day just to fall away as we become aware of being seated here in front of our computer screens or tablets or phones. Just allowing our bodies to settle and relax. And a really nice way to do these meditations is to imagine you're outside in a beautiful place. People who follow the Druid way like to imagine that they're in a sacred grove, a clearing in the woods. And in this clearing, you become aware of being on the ground, seated on the ground. And you sense the earth beneath you. You sense its solidity, and yet the way it's alive too, and porous, filled with life. Think of all the creatures in the earth. Think of all the rocks and stones and the soil and the moisture too. Think of the energy. And as you breathe out, you allow all your tensions to sink into the earth. And as you breathe in, you allow the energy of the earth to rise up into you, bringing you health and vitality and healing. You become aware of the trees around you, and you sense the way they are rooted firmly in the earth, their trunks stretching high up into the air. And you breathe in the energy of the trees and the breath of the trees, the oxygen that they release. And you can smell the trees. And they bring you vitality and calm. And you become aware of the sky above you. You see how it's growing darker as dusk comes and the stars start to come out in the sky above you. And you breathe in the energy of the sky. And the energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And then imagine now that there's a fire burning in the center of the clearing, in the center of your sacred grove. A small fire just burning. It's a cold winter's night. And so you decide to stand up to warm your hands by the fire. So walk over to the fire now and just see if you can sense the warmth of the fire. So this is an exercise in the imagination. Just allow yourself to imagine warmth and light coming towards you, coming towards your hands and towards the front of your body. See how much you can feel that warmth. Sense that warm glow from the flames. And now turn your attention to your back and see if you can sense the cold night air on your back. It's invigorating and refreshing. So your focus is now on your back and you feel the cold night air. Your focus moves to the front of your body and you feel the warmth of the fire. And now that you're getting nice and toasty warm on the outside, slowly rotate yourself so that your back is facing the fire and the front of you is facing the trees and the forest. Feel the warmth now warming up your back, and feel that warmth flowing through your back and radiating outwards. Feel the warmth and the light of the fire radiating out into the night air, out towards the forest. And you're sending that warmth and that love to the trees, our brothers and sisters, the trees, our companions and guardians on this earth. May the light of peace and love and warmth and joy radiate throughout the whole world. And then just sense yourself feeling nice and warm now, just stepping away towards the edge of the circle where you started, which is warm now. It's warmed up, and you turn around and sit down facing the fire. You feel warm. You see the glow of the fire. You might even see your companions sitting around you. Place the palms of your hands on the earth and feel the warmth from your heart flowing into the earth too, sending your love, your care to the earth herself. Bring your hands up and place them on your heart. Feel the warmth in your heart. And as you do this, your awareness of the sacred grove begins to fade as you become more and more strongly aware of being present to your body, fully present in your body, here and now, facing your computer or your TV screen or your tablet. And so in that meditation, we related to the warmth and the light of the known. We faced the darkness and the cold of the unknown, but we trusted in the warmth that flowed through us. And even just at the level of exercising our imaginations, what I love about exercises like this and meditations like this is it's almost like I can feel my creative muscles, my imaginative mind exercising itself. It's like anything you do with consciousness. The more you do it, the easier it gets. You know the way if you don't read a book for a couple of months, you go off reading and you just don't read for a couple of months. You pick up a book and it's kind of, you have to make an effort. And then once you get into reading, it becomes a joy and it becomes easier. It's the same thing with the mind and the faculties of the mind. So lovely. Thank you. Well, I'm just seeing your comments coming in. That's really great. The time seems to fly when we're together, which is always a sign, I think, a good sign. So thank you for coming. There's going to be a break. We're coming up to Christmas and the New Year, so we'll have a break until, and I'll see you in 3 weeks, January the 7th. So we'll skip the next two. One will be Christmas Day, I think. I think it's on Monday, and then the next one will be New Year's Eve, and then we'll meet again on January the 7th. So have a wonderful Christmas, have a wonderful solstice, have a wonderful Yule, and have a wonderful New Year celebration. And I will see you again in 2019. Okay, so lots of love and see you then. Bye.